Hello everyone, and welcome back to the next installment of our 9.1 raid guides. This is Crzypck from Complexity Limit, and today we're going to show you how to kill the Mythic Painsmith Raznal encounter in the Sanctum of Domination. Let's start with a short disclaimer. All of our Mythic guides will assume you have a good understanding of the heroic version of the encounter. We will not be discussing the basic mechanics, but instead the changes for Mythic and our strategy for how to defeat the Mythic version of the encounter. If you need a refresher on any of the basic mechanics for a fight, check out our heroic videos on the channel. For this fight, we recommend going with 2 tanks, 4 healers, and 14 DPS. Before getting into the fight, we want to be upfront with you. This boss took most of the top guilds in the world, nearly as many pulls as Mythic Sylvanas. This fight is difficult. At the time of writing this, it's tuned very high with very little margin for error. You will wipe a lot. Unless Blizzard retunes this fight, you can expect north of 100 wipes. Don't get discouraged. This fight is difficult for every guild, not just yours. Now, we also want to give a huge shout out to our friends over at Instant Dollars for allowing us to use their kill video for our guide. You guys rock. Check out Instant Dollars when they're streaming. These guys are absolute pumpers. We will include some links in the video description below. Okay, let's get into the Mythic changes. When the boss does his weapon throw at the tank, spikes now also simultaneously shoot from the 3 players affected by Shadow Steel chains. Each player with chains will shoot spikes in all 4 directions along the grid, 1 block wide. If anybody gets hit with a spike, they die. And yes, these extra spikes can also hit and explode the traps. To combat this, you'll want to pre-plan exactly where the chains go each time there's a weapon throw. Place 3 markers down on the grid. 1 on the very middle block, 1 on the block immediately northwest of that, and 1 immediately southeast of that, as you can see on your screen. These are the colors that we had our boss add-on set to mark the affected players with, so whenever the weapon throw is coming, the add-on would have the players marked and they just run to their assigned colors. Have a few more markers down towards 3 of the corners of the room. Your tank can use these to communicate whenever they can't go to their normal corner for the weapon throw and where they'll be going instead. A note here. Every second weapon throw will not have any players affected by Shadow Steel chains at the same time, making it much less dangerous. The tank will still run out to the corner, but since there's no chains players, there's less spikes and a lot less danger. The rest of the raid, minus the tank being targeted for the throw obviously, will move to the corner of the room. In phase 1, we used the southwest corner for the raid. In phase 2 and phase 3, we used the northwest corner for the raid. The tank just runs to the exact opposite corner of where the raid is. By doing all of this, you'll ensure that the corner for the raid is nice and safe with no spikes. This also means you'll have a safe area to drop the traps, right around the raid. All players in the group should be stacked in melee range with the boss, and your one assigned player to pop the traps should make sure that they never overlap. If 2 traps explode within 1.5 seconds on Mythic, it's an instant wipe. Some notes on this because this makes it sound pretty easy. In phases 2 and 3, it's not. There's some variability due to the spiked balls. You may get them appearing where the tank is running or directly on the raid. If they're where the tank is running, your best case scenario is bopping the tank, which will allow them to still just run to that farthest corner block of the room. If that's not an option, the tank will just have to be 1 block closer to the raid and make sure they get the hell away from the balls when they spawn. If the balls spawn on the raid in phases 2 and 3, you'll generally want to swap and kill the ball on the furthest west line, backpedaling as necessary, then running through the opening. Blow up the ball ASAP or it'll get squeezed by the corner. Now remember, in phases 2 and 3, you'll have the radiating spikes coming from where the tank got hit with the weapon throw. So make sure you know when that's coming and step over it safely. Okay, we've now spent quite a bit of time on positioning and dealing with spikes, so let's get into the rest of the changes, all of which occur during the intermission. First, between spike waves number 1 and 2 and spike waves number 5 and 6, you'll get a set of spiked balls spawning from either the east or west side of the room. These will roll slowly across the platform, reach the end, then despawn. There will always be 1 block of safe space between each spiked ball, so you don't actually have to kill any. Since these are rolling perpendicular to the waves of spikes, you'll need to crisscross the platform running from safe spot to safe spot for the waves of spikes, while running between the spiked balls as well. This gets pretty wild, and we recommend using movement cooldowns here liberally. Things like Windrush Totem and Stampeding Roar are absolute godsends. The next major change sounds a lot scarier than it actually is. There are 9 total waves of spikes during each intermission. Wave number 5 will not have an opening to safely run through at all. You'll need to use some type of ability to get through those spikes without dying. For some classes, this is obviously easy. Mages can blink, locks can portal, paladins can bubble. For other classes, it's a bit more work. Demon hunters can double jump off the platform, go around the spikes, and then glide back on. Hunters can jump off the side and disengage back onto the platform around the spikes. Knifeflake players can use their soul shape to blink through, Venthyr can use Door of Shadows, goblins can do similar to hunters and jump off then rocket jump back on. Nearly every player in your raid will have some way to deal with this, even if it's a little difficult. If anyone in your raid does not have a reliable way to get through the wave, you'll need to hit them with a bop so they can run through and survive. The final change to the intermissions comes at the very end. The last set of swirlies spawns some Shadowsteel horror adds. These don't move and they don't attack. Instead, they'll each cast Final Scream, which is a 12-second long cast. If any of these adds complete the cast, it's a raid wipe. You'll want to AoE these down as quickly as possible, ensuring none actually survive to finish their cast. To help facilitate this, you'll want to ensure they're grouped up as much as possible. So, during the intermission, as wave 8 comes at the raid, move south along the platform. Have a Warlock gateway from about 30% of the way to the southern end, connecting to the northernmost middle block. The entire raid should take this gateway as soon as wave 9 has spawned and moved off the very top line of blocks. The gateway will shoot you through both waves 8 and 9 harmlessly, and everyone will land on the same block. As you land, stay there until the swirlies appear, then move away. You'll now have every Shadowsteel horror ad spawn right there, and as an added bonus, when the boss re-engages, he'll jump right on top of them for you to AoE. Some notes before we wrap up. Phase 1 push timings can get a bit wonky. There's a set of spiked balls that spawns about a minute and 42 seconds into the fight. You want to either push the boss to 70% about 5 seconds before this, starting the intermission safely ahead of the spawn and skipping it, or if you can't make that push, stop all damage on the boss at 72%. Wait for the spiked balls, till the one on the end you need to run through, then nuke the boss and push. In phases 2 and 3, the corners we listed above will work for the majority of the phases. However, if spiked balls push you out of that corner, don't be afraid to shift to the southwest corner for a bit instead of staying in the northwest. Tanks will still just run to the opposite corner. When another set of spiked balls comes out, that'll force you to move north, you'll get back to that northwestern corner. Easy peasy. For healers, a lot of the damage here is pretty bursty, so proper cooldown use can easily save the raid. Use raid-wide effects like Rally and Devo for tank weapon throws when there's also Shadowsteel chain players out. Use location-based ones like Barrier, AMZ, and Spirit Link for the weapon throws when there's no Shadowsteel chains out. The reasoning behind this is that the weapon throw damage is fall-off damage, meaning the 3 players with Shadowsteel chains will take more damage than the rest of the raid. Using something like Rally or Devo will help them survive. When you don't have chains out, everyone but the tank can just be stacked in melee, so Barrier, AMZ, and Spirit Link are perfect. The final detail we wanted to go over is to lust immediately going into stage 3 as the ads spawn. Blow the ads up, then turn and nuke the boss. So overall, this fight is pretty long to progress, but keep your heads up, don't get mad at each other, and make sure you master all of the mechanics. Dealing with the chains, the spikes, the traps, the balls, everything, it's just going to take time and repetition for your raid. The intermissions are also much harder than on heroic, so don't be surprised if people still eat a spike at like pull 110 during the intermission. It's okay. Every guild is going through the same thing. Pump hard and eventually this boss will fall, and you can move on to the next 3 pretty easy bosses. If you enjoyed this guide, remember to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to make sure you're subscribed to the channel to catch all of our previews, guides, kill videos, and more. From the team here at Complexity Limit, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.